I'm sure the second that I upload this, the Twitter is going to update with more cards, but, you know, such is life. And I don't want the world to see me, 'cause I don't think that they'd understand. When everything's meant to be broken, I just want you to know who I am. Of course they did. The Omen of Repose and his followers have been revealed for Havencraft. Let's take a look. 3.14, Servant of Repose is the bronze here. Fanfare in hand 6, gain +3/+3 and ward. At the end of your turn, if this follower didn't attack this turn, restore 1 defense to all allies. So the whole pacifism thing is a new theme for Havencraft here. Pretty cool. This seems like a cool card if you're just curving into it. Keeps your board alive, restores a bit of defense to you. And it always proc at least once, because it can't attack the turn it's played anyway. And the Enhanced 6 lets it be useful on board while it just sits there, you know, not attacking. Not sold about this card making it into Tenko's Shrine, just because Bashful Al-Mirage is probably better than this card in Tenko's Shrine. That's been cut from lists. But if you want a more tempo-based Havencraft deck, this might be something you slot in. And I think you'll see that a lot of the Repose cards in general sort of fit into that category. Speaking of which, here's Disciple of Repose, a 2.22 silver, which is like a better Evolisha, because at the end of your turn, if it didn't attack, it deals 1 damage to the enemy leader. So it'll always proc the turn you play it, and then it can still keep chipping away at the enemy even if they have wards up. It's a solid 2-drop, but doesn't really fit into what we know about Havencraft right now. But again, they seem to be trying to make this tempo Havencraft a thing. The Apostle of Repose, on the other hand, is a bit more strange. 4.14 gold follower, Bane, and then the Evolve doesn't gain any stats, but at the end of your turn, if it didn't attack, randomly destroy one of the strongest enemy followers in play. Very annoying to deal with, especially if your opponent is going tall. Not so threatening if your opponent's going wide, and it's quite low impact in terms of the size of its body. Don't make any innuendos there, I'm being 100% serious here. It's weird because you evolve it, and then you have to choose between wanting to make that evolve trade that's so common on turn 4, or just letting it sit. Might be seen as restrictive or flexible depending on how you look at it, but there's an opportunity cost there because you're not evolving one of those 2-for-1 evolve cards like Lorena or Cudgel. It's pretty strange design-wise to me. I'd be interested to see how the spell and the rest of the Repose package in Havencraft ties everything together. But first impressions is that this seems a bit slow and low impact for me. Finally, we got Marwan, Omen of Repose. I was wrong. I thought Marwan would be the Dragoncraft Omen, but I think I got it the other way around. 4/4/4, both players gain a play point ore, both players subtract 1 from their countdown amulets, both players restore 1 defense to their leader, and both players draw a card. And then when it evolves, it can't take more than 3 damage at a time. Essentially, you're speeding up the game by 1 turn when you play Marwan, and you're getting an oversized body in addition to it. The evolve is pretty good because you can make several value trades with it, but again, this is going into the turns where Lococo starts to become a factor, right? So maybe a little less impactful than you'd like to think. It's interesting because it is detrimental in that your opponent gets to use the extra card and the extra play point before you, even though you do get a good body as compensation for that. So it's hard to judge exactly how good this card will be depending on how well your opponent can make use of the extra resources that you just gave them. But I do think that this card does fit into that more tempo-oriented style of gameplay that I was trying to talk about, because not only is it a massive body on curve, but the fact that it subtracts 1 from your countdown amulets means that you can sort of play an amulet-based deck, and you can start snowballing your advantage that way even though you've given your enemy some resources. It is difficult to judge the efficacy of this card though. I'm just curious to see how people play with it and how people take advantage of it more than anything else at this point. Hey, looks like Psy Games themselves are participating in Custom Card Weekly now. 2.21 Bronze Goblin Fighter. Fanfare, randomly put 1 of the following cards into your hand, Goblin or Goblin Leader. Really solid card in Arena for sure. Could be used in aggressively minded decks just for, you know, a good body on curve that gives you more resources as well. It's interesting that they're printing this after Wonderland Dreams is rotating out, so the power level of this card in rotation really does suffer from that fact. I think it's an card, but it's our first 2 play point Goblin, so it's absolutely making it into my 40 Goblin deck in Unlimited. Couple more here. We got Rapier Master for Swordcraft, a Gold Officer, that's a 1 play point 1/1, or a 2 play point 2/2. Or a 4 play point 3/3 with Bane, or a 6 play point 4/4 with Bane and Ward, or an 8 play point 5/5 with Bane, Ward, and Rush, or a 10 play point 6/6 with Bane, Ward, and Rush. Card is certainly flexible, and there's a lot of power to be had in that, but one thing to keep in mind is that at every single point you can play this, it's worse than a card that sees no play. But what's really powerful in this card is the fact that if you play it after you drop Latham Honorable Knight, it gains Storm. So it essentially becomes a Zeus for Swordcraft, but it's not a dead card in your hand before you drop your Latham either, because you can get the utility out of the several different enhances at any point in the game. So I think this card is something to watch out for sure. Finally, we got the Inspired Inventor, 1.11 Portalcraft Silver. Fanfare, choose either put a Miraculous Invention or a Hazardous Invention into your hand. The Miraculous Invention is a 2 point artifact amulet. Can't be destroyed by spells and effects at the end of your turn if your leader has 10 defense or less. Restore 3 defense to your leader and banish this amulet. And the Hazardous is a 1 point, can't be destroyed by spells and effects at the end of your turn if the enemy leader has 10 defense or less. Deal 1 damage to a random enemy follower and 1 damage to the enemy leader, then banish this amulet. Again, an artifact amulet. I don't think that this card fits into Puppet Portalcraft because you're taking up your board space and you want to be playing your Orcuses and your Noahs, and that's a risky situation. But in Artifact Portalcraft, these are the first artifact amulets I believe we've seen, so they can synergize with your Deus Ex Machinas, and the Miraculous Invention specifically can help keep you alive as you assemble your Radiant or Saphira combo. Well, given that your opponent doesn't just OTK you from a higher life total than 10. The Hazardous Invention I'm not too sold on because it seems low impact, but the fact that it comes out of a 1.11 card regardless gives it that flexibility, so seems like an okay card, but I'm not entirely sold if it fits anywhere right now. Another card popped up here while I was editing this video, 5.54 gold neutral follower, Apostle of Craving. Fanfare, give +3/+0 to a follower, give that follower the following effect. Whenever this follower attacks, deal 3 damage to this follower. That's a lot of follows in that text. I like this card though. Aggressively minded, on-curve card. Just smack him in the face. My only regret is that Corpse Sword of Woe is rotating out when this card comes in. The whenever clause here means that you have to be targeting an allied follower with 4 defense or higher, because otherwise it would just destroy itself when it attacks. But the fact that this can target any follower means that you can target an enemy follower with 3 defense or lower to have it just sit on the board and not be able to attack. So this card actually has a surprising amount of utility. Big fan of this, to be honest. Those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Let's have a bit of a discussion on these new Omen of the 10 cards here. Like the video if you did, don't if you didn't. Subscribe for more Shadowverse content and Omen of the 10 hype in the very near future. And of course, thank you to my wonderful patrons, patreon.com/Ignideus. If you'd like to support the channel as well, I would highly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.